There's nothing like waking up for a sunrise and knowing that the rest of the day will be spent in nature. But for over a year, myself and millions of other people throughout Britain have put all our travel plans on hold and adapted to life under lockdown regulations. So now adventure, travel, it means so much more. Because of my filmmaking background, last year, Inmotion sent me an electric unicycle, the V11, in order to take it and capture a solo adventure in the great outdoors. When the pandemic hit, everything was postponed. Now that lockdown has ended and E-Rides is on board, one of the UK's leading distributors, it was finally happening. So I knew I had to go somewhere special. So the purpose of this trip was simple. How far could I go on one charge? And would it be enough to help me discover the tales and history of this majestic place? This would be my 10th time to Wales. Komoot was a huge help in planning the route. I tend to use it on all my camping or hiking trips and discovered a 50.6 mile route passing through the small town of Dolgellau, Torrent Trail, and of course along the way butchering every Welsh name on the ride. But the thing is, as I was packing, I kept thinking I wanted this trip to be more meaningful than just a range test. And it all came down to this. There are millions of people who don't experience nature because they physically can't due to life-limiting conditions or paralysis. So I decided that I'll use my 360 camera to capture as many of these picturesque sights as possible in order to create an immersive virtual reality experience so that those people living in hospices can experience the outdoors too. Now back to the Inmotion V12, the transportation device that was going to help me fulfill those goals. It's a bit different to the rest of my electric unicycles. The good thing is it's 16 inches, which is great for portability, but its size is also potentially a negative. Smaller shell means less space for batteries, thus potentially less range. It's advertised as able to go 99 miles with a 75 kilogram payload, so that's what I'll test. One of the first things I noticed was that it was heavier than its predecessor, the V11. Not handy when carrying it, but from a riding perspective, that translated to an extremely stable feeling at low to mid speeds. It also felt a lot bigger than what it actually was, something I don't normally experience with other 16-inch wheels. When it came to acceleration, uniquely, there isn't a hard and fast rule on this wheel. Riders can adjust the firmness and responsiveness on specifically the front and rear section of the footplate, as opposed to the entire thing in order to fine-tune the riding experience. So if I wanted sharp braking, slow acceleration, or vice versa, I could program that in. This really heightened the sensation of the wheel being in sync to my body's rhythm. I didn't want to speak too soon since I was only a few miles in, but it was a really comfortable ride. I was excited to explore how it would handle the rest of the route, but the thing about Wales is, you set off to enter the valleys, but along the way, get captivated by something else completely. And before you know it, you're no longer a rider, but an ambler, nestled between a beaten path, looking at a derelict patch of cobblestones. If myself or any other passerby doubted it was living quarters from yesteryear, then the memorial front and center made it clear. This was the home of one of the most famous people in Wales, Mary Jones. In English, the inscription reads, "In memory of Mary Jones, who in the year 1800, at the age of 16, walked from here to Bala, pure from the Reverend Thomas Charles, a copy of the Welsh Bible." This incident was the occasion of the formation of the British and Foreign Bible Society. To put that into context, Mary saved up all of her money for 6 years, then at 15 turning 16, she walked 29 miles through the grassy slopes of Tinidal, past the foot of Cadair Idris to Bala, barefoot. On top of that, when she arrived, the thing that she so longed for was sold out. And again, Wales had left me awestruck for a different reason. Sure, I'd been stunned by nature elsewhere, but learning about these personal stories and seeing how they were memorialized and woven into the landscape, from the legend of Rita Gao to Mary Jones, from mythology and folklore to history, there's just so much intrigue to the region. This is Wales, a place to explore. My little diversion cost me 11 miles and 7% off the battery. One of the first things I tend to pay attention to off-road is uneven terrain. When riding a bike, cyclists have the benefit of high pedal clearance. EUC riders, on the other hand, don't have that luxury, so need to pay even more attention to the fluctuations in terrain, as well as be mindful when riding through narrow passages. Otherwise, the footplate will clip and you'll fall. As an answer to this, Inmotion engineered the V12 with the ability to raise the pedal height of the footplates, but crucially with minimal tools, because no one wants to carry more than necessary. So, with just an Allen key, I could raise the pedal height by 2 centimeters as an added safety measure. And the change of focus, even if for 15 minutes, provides a good excuse for a comfort break. It's then I noticed a bench commemorated to Mary Richards, a botanist who lived upstream. Through her botanical work, Mary made over 29,000 collections of plants across Zambia and Tanzania. Many of these collections were sent to Kew Gardens for scientific records. In 1969, she received an MBE after personal recommendation of the President of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda. More than halfway through the route and with 70% battery, I knew I had enough to finish. Bittersweet, maybe? A good thing coming to an end and leaving without knowing when I'd be back in the mountains? But that's why I ride EUCs. Nature, it's just a charge away. Yeah, there's more to see, more to discover. And certainly more footage to capture for this VR film. Until then, time for this Nomad to start planning my next adventure.